Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am the late fire starter, which means financial independence and retire early. But why am I the late guy? Because I started late in life, and it's much easier when you start in your 20s instead of your 40s, right? But anyways, my two main things, as if you've seen any of my videos, you know, are real estate investment and dividend investment. So I have 4 duplexes in Cleveland, 1 condo in LA, in Gardena. But none of those were my first real estate buy. What was my first one? Believe it or not, the first place I ever bought was in Turkey. Yeah, the country, Turkey. Not the holiday, nothing to do with Thanksgiving coming up or anything like that. Turkey. I was living in Turkey, teaching English and coaching American football for about 6 years. And after living there for about a year, I realized that they raise the rent every year, and then it gets unsustainable. Also, if you want to have people over and neighbors complain, there's just too many things out of control, and I wanted to get my own place. I knew the area I wanted to go in, right? I knew the part of the city in Turkey that I was living in. I knew which part of the city I wanted to be living in, and so I really kind of had this triangle. I had this neighborhood, and this neighborhood, okay? It was a little triangle. You could walk the outer triangle in probably like an hour. You could walk from the tip of the triangle down to the bottom in probably 15 minutes, okay? So we're not talking about a huge area, but the city is divvied up into different smaller sub-cities, and then within that it's little neighborhoods. So I was looking at 3 different neighborhoods that I wanted to live in that I had rented in before. Well, I would look at the different sites, the websites, the different Turkish sites of all the different real estate options, all the places that were for sale. And these are all basically apartments because that's all they have. And so you're buying an apartment, and I noticed that, you know, a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, whatever apartment would go for this amount of money. And I knew that because I'd been searching so much. It was just kind of like a fun hobby. I would look around and I would search and I'd search. And I'd put in the price parameters, and I would see that what would come up in my price range. Generally, the cheaper end things were either really small, really nasty, really musty, and oftentimes what you would see was they were on the first floor or the top floor. In general, people didn't want the first floor or the top floor. First floor because it's not as safe and you can deal with more moisture and flooding. Top floor because it's not as insulated and you deal with a lot of heat. It got very hot in the summertime, and so between those floors is really where the sweet spot you wanted. And I noticed you pay a little bit of a premium. Not a major amount, but a little bit of a premium. Also, I knew exactly how much a decent apartment in this triangle, okay, depending on how old it was and where it was and all that stuff, I knew exactly the range it should be in. How? Because I'd looked so much. I'd looked at so many ones online. I'd looked at so many pictures. I looked at so many prices. And I just really learned the market. All this time, I was saving up, putting money in the bank. In Turkey, I couldn't get a mortgage because I'm a foreigner, so I had to buy the thing in cash. And so I'm just saving up, and saving up. And I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking. This went on for, you know, over a year and a half. Well, there were periods and seasons where I was looking more intently than others, okay? There were some times where I was looking every day, and then sometimes where I'd take a couple months off and just take a break. Well, one day I was coming home from work, from the university I was teaching at, and I was on the metro, the subway, right? And where at the top of this triangle, there was a new subway stop being built for years. I mean, for years and years and years. And people didn't think it would ever open. Well, that was literally across the street, in the end of the metro line, across the street from the part of the triangle I really liked. And that was a little cheaper too. And I thought, this is gonna up the property values. This is gonna make commuting to work from here so much easier. So I get in the metro, and I get in, and I notice all of a sudden that stop is open, and I couldn't believe it. So I take the metro all the way to the end. I get out and I look around, and there's a bridge across the highway, and I walk around. So that led me, when I got home, to open my computer and do another search for real estate, which I hadn't done for a while. And there was a apartment on the 3rd floor of 5, right in the middle. That was 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. It's kind of how they all are. So 3 bedrooms on the 3rd floor in a decent area, real close to the new metro. And the price was insane. It was incredible. It was so much. It was like 20 to 30,000 lira. Okay, and at this time that would have been about $20,000 cheaper than what it should have been. And so I immediately contact the agent, and I meet the next day after work. I look at the place and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it. Is there anything wrong with this? And so I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, I'm doing a real search. I talk to the neighbors, I talk to the guy. Anyways, long story short, I put money down that day because I don't want to lose this, because I know this is a great price. I never intended to buy a place in Turkey by myself. I intended to have a Turkish friend help me and be there through the whole process. But this went all so fast, I used the Turkish I had learned up to that point to do the whole transaction. Turns out that this place had been on the market for a little bit at a higher price, and I just didn't see it in my search. But the day that I searched was the same day they dropped the price again, and so all of a sudden it showed up for me that very day. And so I was able to get it, and because I knew it was such a good deal, I pounced immediately. And because I had been saving, I had the money to do it. So I lived in this place for a few years, and then I sold it before I moved back home to the U.S., good old USA. And I just think there's a lot of things I did well naturally in that process that I think are good for anyone who's looking to buy real estate, whether it's to live in or whether it's to buy an investment property. And that is, figure out your neighborhood. Figure out the neighborhood, not the city even, but the neighborhood within the city that you would want to invest in or live. And often, you want to invest where you want to live, to be honest. If you don't want to live there, maybe nobody else does too, okay? So, find the neighborhood and start searching. There's so many tools. Check Redfin, check Zillow, check Trulia, check Realty.com. There's so many websites where you can just do searches and have them email you different properties. Look around. Search for a few months even, and I guarantee you will have an idea, a really good idea of what something should cost. And that's important because when something costs less than it should, you'll know and be able to pounce on that right away and be able to grab that deal. All the while you're doing this research on what neighborhood, and then once you get the neighborhood, researching the housing market, all the while you should be saving. Saving money so that you're ready to have that down payment and no questions asked. I just feel that if you know your neighborhood, research the market, and save money, you should be able to buy a place below market value when it comes. Anyways, thanks for watching today. That's my first property I ever bought in the country of Turkey. If you like my story and you want to follow along with my journey, please subscribe and hit that like button. Other than that, I'll be posting up new videos of my dividend stocks and talking about my properties in America and how they're doing as well. So follow along with me as I make my journey to FIRE.